Hi, this is starting on class exercise number 2, test A.1. I'm going to start the video. I want to start talking about you creating your index page, and for some of you, you might have this already with it, but I'm doing I started up our Visual Studio, our Visual Code, and the Visual Code, this is our index page. I don't know if you had your index page from your class exercise number 1. I'd like for you to load it and load it. If you have, I'm taking screen. I'm recording on half of this. So for right now, just to get the full of the screen, this is what it looks like right now. So make sure you have your index page load. I'm going to refer to a lot of things as this basic skeleton of the HTML with it. Just to give you some things that if you start to learn this, and I'm going to please take notes of this because some of this you're going to need for the test, for the test I asked you to. For example, you're all going to start out with the doc type. This is the document type that you tell the browser it's an HTML document with it. And the reason why it starts out with a explanation, and this is that because this is a reserve, you notice there's a less than or greater than sign. That's considered a tag. The in between it, the first thing that you see it's kind of coded different with it is because it's reserved words with it. So you have to type it as reserved word as doc type. Now HTML itself is not case sensitive, which means that if I did all this word doc type and I type lowercase, it will still work. It just looks weird. It's not the best practice. You notice HTML here is also lowercase with it. This is a tag. This is the beginning of the tag, and this is the closing of the tag. How do I know it's closing? Well, look, you put a forward slash. So as you progress through programming language, I want you to look at, there's a pattern here that you have to notice. Every programming language has reserved words. All right. What does that mean? Well, reserved words means I cannot call a variable with the same name. Okay. So these are words that, or I can't call a function with the same name. I can't call a constant calling that name. In other words, x is a variable, right? So I can't call x. If it's a reserved word, I can't call x with it. In this case, HTML. So here, this is a tag. So if it's reserved, I can't make a variable called HTML. Okay, so or a function or a constant. So get the hang of that with it. So this is the body of the whole HTML. There's a beginning and here's an ending. Inside HTML, there is two parts, the head and the body. Anything between the head, that gets loaded first before you get to the body. So if you have JavaScript that's written here with it, that's where you would put it. You want the material to be loaded first before the bodies load. Okay, just bear with me on that. Inside of that, if you have like CSS, I'm going to talk about Cascade Style Sheets in here next week with it. So some of the material that you're going to talk about, there's 3 types of CSS. There's what's called the internal, the inline, and the external with it. And I'm going to talk to you more about it. So just bear with me what CSS stands for right now. This is the area that if I had like an external CSS, I would actually put my link here with it. It's between my head tag, right? The title tag refers to anything that's in your tab right here, in your tab. So if I'm pulling up, like if I want to see something that's appearing in the tab, I put it between my title tag. It's up to you. So I started out with the title. Welcome to my home page. All right. So something we're friendly. You're welcome to put icons in here. You're going to see programmers that they always like to dress it up with it, so they can do something like this. It just looks kind of neat and fun after you put smiley face and whatever. Whatever turns you on with it. But the part that anything that we want to appear in the code, it appears between the body tag. Again, here's the beginning and here's the ending. Note the white space that I have here. It's just for more readability. Good programmers would write things, it's readability. 80% of my career, most of the career as a programmer out there with it, we maintain other people's code. So when you write this, the next guy that maintains your code will appreciate it. All right, so there are things I can't teach you from a textbook. This is what we do in industry. So the indentation is very important. Make it readability is very important with it, and how it actually, if you notice that in visual code. I click on one and it tells me where the matching tag comes in. If I click on head, it tells me here's the other matching tag. If I click on HTML, so on. All right, the title, so on. So once you get to 100,000 lines of codes, this is a very helpful tool for you to debug. Okay, bear with me on that one with you. So, like I said, let's get started on this. So one of the things that we go in, I would like to talk to you about is how to create a basic table in this thing. All right. So the table tag, like anything else with it, I'm going to actually start out with a table tag. I'm going to hit table. You notice that it gives me IntelliSense means that it helps you to type this. So if I want to do table, I just hit tab. I close that table off with it, and it also automatically closes that tag. I just hit enter. All right. So just a really quick. Everything in here resides between the table tag in here. Okay. Hold on, something's beeping. So let me continue on with what I just talked to you about, is about this table tag that I'm going to get into this, and everything that resides in the table. You start with the beginning of the tag, and here's the closing of the tag. And I purposely indent inside of the table. So I'm going to indent in, and the moment I hit tab, it just bumps it in. With it. So the next set that I'm going to talk to you about is what's called the table of the tags for the row. If you look at an Excel document for a moment, let me see if I can find an Excel document here, and I want to pull up an Excel document. Hold on. So let me pull up a blank Excel document for you to see what I'm talking about. So in this Excel document, you notice that it's made up of columns and it's made up of rows with it, right? So you can actually, to format a certain table and row, first of all, you have to ask the question, why do you use a table? Well, tables are very important with it because it tells you what the layout is of a certain page with it. That's why we use tables with it. And later on, in a couple more weeks, you're going to be talking about layouts with it, right? And how you design and the symmetry of the layout with it, and how do you control this layout for a layout for a particular e-commerce web page versus a portfolio, for example. The layout's different with it. But let me go back. I'm digressing. So things such as you got to have what's called a table tag. So everything's inside a table, for example, has a table tag. Inside that, you have what's called, you start out with a table row. You start from left to right is table row. And then inside of that, you have what's called the table data. All right, so each one of these things that contains inside of it is what's called table data. So the table data is basically the content that actually, and each one of these are tags, right? So, okay, so let me pause a second. I'm distracted. So I'm digressing here. So I don't want to get too far with the table with it. So let me just drop this, minimize this right now with it, and start to code with it. Right? I've done 8 minutes of basically yakking away here. So with it. So let's get started with this thing, right? So the reason I use a spreadsheet is as I do this, so you could see that I'm doing. We're going to start with the first table. This whole thing's a table, right? Let's say we do a table with 2 rows, with multiple rows and 2 columns. All right, something that looks like this: 1, 2, 3. Let's start something like that, right? So you admit that this is a column, and this is a column. Each time when you place a table data in a second, that is a table data in there. And if you set 2 multiple side by side inside of a table row, that becomes a 2 columns with it. So why don't I start coding here? So first of all, I start out with the table. Inside of this, I'm going to talk about start out with the table row. So TR for the row, and then I hit enter, and then I'm going to do that. Hit enter just to indent in a little bit, and then I do TD, right? And each one of this inside of this, I'm just going to make up some data here. So let's do data 1. Okay, it's a placeholder. All right, and I just like copy and paste with it, so I don't have to even have any second errors with it. So what have I done at this time right now? All right, at this time right now, let's see. I'm going to Control S. This white circle goes away, and let's say I want to see what this thing looks like. Let me just open this up. Right mouse click on it, and then I'm going to open live server that I installed. Right, so it opens up the live server. Let me just drag this over here. Okay, so this is what data 1. Actually, this should have data 2, right? So, because I copy and paste it. But you don't see the border of the table yet. Okay, yet, right? But this is going, if you look at this, this is a table row, and each one of these things are table data, right? So let's go back here. I'm going to change this to a 2. So we can actually distinguish that right now with it. So that's what that looks like with it. And again, we don't see the properties of the table. So this is the element, and inside of this element, we're going to actually give it an attribute that gives it a property. Bear with me with the lingo, right? So we're going to actually come in right now with this part right here, and I want you to think about how we're gonna, what if I took this right here, all right? What if I took this table row, that one row, and I copy that, and then I come down here at the next one, I do another one, okay, with it. So I made, how many of this have I made? Here's 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, right? Oh, yeah, I can't count. That should be 4. Sorry. That should be 3. 3, and then this needs to be 4, right? So with it now, I'm gonna, let's for kicks, let's do one more, and then I'm gonna, so this becomes what, 5? This becomes 6. Can you kind of picture what this table kind of looks like? It's going to be a table with how many rows? How many rows do you think there's going to be? Okay, and how many columns do you think it's going to be? Good. So first of all, it's going to have what? The number of rows it's going to have is 3 rows. Can you see that? Here's your first row, here's your second row, and here's your third row. How many columns do you have? Each time you place a TD like this, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You have 2 columns. 3 rows, 2 columns. Can you see that? So this is one set of row and one set of another row, which is the second row. This is the third row, right? So each time you see a TD, a TR, that's a row. Opening of a TR, closing of a TR. Opening of a TR, closing of a TR. All right, I passed the 13-minute mark. I'm going to stop here for a second. I'm going to continue to part 2. Okay, bear with me. So this is the end of part 1 of class exercise number 2. Class exercise number 2, task A, part 1. This is the end of that.